A loaded conversation today. If you see me looking down, it's because my laptop is right here. Your girl's got notes. And for this one, I had to make notes because I didn't want to leave anything out. I wanted to make sure that I could keep everything in chronological order. So don't you forget to cast one more day. Rillo gets in the car and I could tell he's got something on his mind. And he looks at me and he says, Saints, the scale is trash, and here's why. So, I'm not new to this prep thing. I'm true to this, right? I am going into my 5th season. I've been competing since 2019, got the pro card last summer. So we kind of know some things, right? Okay, prep has started. Here we are. We're in it, right? And so here's our first update, all right? So this morning, had my check-in. Feeling good, feeling hungry. I've been going to bed hungry. Like, it's not painful. Like, I'm fine. And so I woke up this morning. I said to myself, scale dropped. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. We're tighter. I feel tighter. I'm hungry. I just know, right? I go get on the scale. We hold 2 pounds up. Why are we 163 pounds? I'm going to say it one more time. Why are we 163 pounds? This is the most that I have weighed in indefinitely, ever, in my whole check-in 5.5 year bodybuilding experience. And why is this happening on my first check-in of prep? I was like, okay, God, you playing with me early in the game, because here's the thing. I already know this prep gonna be a battle. Oh, I already know. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't claim it. Maybe it won't be. Let me get my mindset together. The reason why I said I know it's going to be a battle is because we are starting off way higher, the highest we ever have. However, comma, favor. Amen. Amen. So I get on the scale. I see that. I'm like, that's funny. Go do my check-ins. I'll throw my check-in photos up here somewhere. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm 2 pounds up, but because at first, I'm not going to hold you. I was like, nope. I rebuke what is going on. This don't make no sense. And then sent it to Alexa. She was like, physique looks good. Keep going. And I said to myself, nah, this not sitting well with me. So I did what I know to do, because like I said, we have emotional intelligence, we have maturity in this thing. And I got last week's photo in comparison to this week's photo off the gate. Last week I was looking gummy, I was looking mushy, again from a bodybuilding perspective lens, not a everyday lifestyle perspective. Us bodybuilders, we are neurotic, we are insane, we are the 1% of the population. We ain't normal people. So if you're not a bodybuilder, you're just general public, that's fine, but I need for you to stay focused one moment, okay? Because when we're speaking, we've transitioned into prep vlogs now, okay? So we're not speaking for everyday life. We're speaking from a lens of being a competitive professional bodybuilder getting on stage with some of the best bodies in the world. So I'm like, yo, I looked so gummy and mushy last week, but I weighed less. However, this week, we're tight, and we're 2 pounds up. So here's what's happening, okay? Body recomposition. So this happens a lot to people whenever they start dieting. I ain't never had it happen to me this fast though, because like the way I tightened up, baby, I tightened up. The body just starts to recomp, and with the body recomp, sometimes the scale does go up. Sometimes that happens. However, this is why we cannot be a slave to the scale. The scale does not tell us the full picture. One more time, I'm going to say it for the people in the back. The scale does not tell you the full picture. The scale doesn't tell you, hey, maybe you have inflammation from training yesterday. Hey, maybe you ate your last meal late, so therefore it hasn't digested properly. Hey, maybe you stress. You might not realize you stress, but the body know you're stressed, right? Maybe you're about to start your period. Maybe you're on your period. Maybe you had more sodium sodium. Maybe you just didn't get enough sleep. There are so many factors, which is why we cannot live and die by the scale, because the scale is low-key partially a liar. But do you know what the truth is? Your photos. Go off your photos. All right? So, where are we at? Coach has she? Let me see. I don't think she responded back to my check-in yet. No. So stats, 163 pounds. I don't know how many weeks out yet. We just like to be ready within a time frame, and then whatever the time frame is, we'll look at whatever shows are there. So the goal is for me to be ready sometime during the fall. The reason why I like doing this is because I don't like to get my heart set on one show. And then let's face it, we can want something, but the body might have a different want. And so therefore, just because you want to do said show doesn't mean that the body's going to show up in time for you to do said show. So a lot of y'all should maybe take that into consideration to just help alleviate some of the stress and the pressure that we put on ourselves. Sometimes we just get married to a show. And so if something happens and we can't do it, we fall apart. But here's the thing. This stuff is expensive, right? Don't be getting on stage just for the sake of getting on stage when you know, especially if you've been doing this. If you've been doing this for at least 2 years, you know some things, okay? You know when you're ready and when you're not ready. Do not get on stage just for the sake of getting on stage because you said you was going to get on stage and you know you're not ready. It's too expensive and you want to show up at your absolute best, okay? So what we got going on today? Well, One More Net is out. I am doing edits for it right now. And I'm like, yo, when I tell you I am nervous, when I tell you I am scared, when I tell you I've been having a hard time processing this, when I tell you that because I haven't pushed it out when I probably should have, it has now allowed the enemy to come in and play with my mind, have me second guessing and all that. Because here's the thing, sometimes when God places something on your heart, you need to get to it right then and there, because the longer you sit with it, it just allows the enemy more time to creep into your mind and start to tell you all these crazy things. So yesterday was definitely that day. I was just all over the place. I was second guessing myself. I was just working through my own struggles, my own sins, something that I struggled with. And I'll I know I will do a full on episode on this on One More Net, but something that I personally struggle with, and I'm not proud of it. Like we're fleshly humans. We all sin. And again, when you are aware of your sin, when you know better, you do better. And in the process of doing better, it is just that it is a process. Just because you're aware of your sin don't mean that you're going to be able to, boom, just exit out immediately. No, it takes practice. But unfortunately, my sin that I have really paid attention to is idolatry. I am not proud of this. And I am in the process of processing. This morning, I was processing and working my way through this. Idolizing. Y'all know I've talked about it. I idolized my work and not realizing that on top of me idolizing work, and this is also something that I started processing yesterday, was because in chapter 1 of Power Moves by Sarah Jakes Roberts, which we're going to get into that here in a moment, I realized that I had been idolizing work. I had been idolizing status, money, and I feel icky about it. It does not feel good. It is not good. And I just prayed for God to remove the spirit of idolatry out of me because it is ungodly. You should not be, regardless, it wasn't my intention to, and I wasn't 100% aware of what I was doing. However, when you know better, you do better. And I wasn't intentionally putting those things above God. In my mind, I wasn't. But when I look at my actions, I was spending more time on focusing on work, focusing on how can I make more money, focusing on status, analytics, likes, growth. Those things had more of my focus than God did. And that's a problem. And so in Power Moves, and I was reading, it talked about, how when you feel powerless, and I started thinking about like, how did I get like this? And it is due to just humble beginnings and a lot of struggles. Because here's the thing, when you have struggles, I had what I needed. You know what I mean? And growing up, coming from a single mom, like y'all know the story. And then in my 20s, just really struggling, like not having money, like not having the gas money to get to school, going days on end with my utilities cut off. Like all of that molded me and my mindset to be like, no, 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 because I felt so powerless. I felt so hopeless. That is one of the worst feelings in the world to me. And I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Just the feeling of hopelessness. Oh, I hate it. And so in my mind, if I'm working hard, if I'm achieving status, if I'm making money, and it's not even the possessions, because I had to check myself too. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I materialistic? And it's not the actual possessions. It's me being in a place to be able to acquire, to buy, to get the possessions. It's not the material things. It's just me being able to. I'm like, okay, girl, this is a problem. And you need to reset your mind. You need to ask God to come in and renew your heart, to soften your heart, to change your ways, to change your mindset, to change your thinking, because this is not a good place to be. So that's where I'm at in my spiritual walk, and just addressing myself and asking myself the hard questions like, okay, well, when it came to, my YouTube channel, why were you pushing so hard for growth and subscribers and brand deals? And again, it goes back to work and wanting to achieve, to make myself feel complete, to make myself feel, I don't want to make myself feel like I'm in control, because the power, I'm trying, Lord, help me to say it the way I'm thinking it. Help me to say it the way that I'm thinking it. I was looking at it as a way to definitely fulfill me, but to just my own self-righteous, powerful, like, okay, look at me. I have this. I'm doing good. I'm achieving in life. That means that I am somebody, because then I had to go back into, okay, is this a worthiness issue? Is this a worthiness issue? And I'm working this out with y'all right now. I'm working it out with you. I'm not sure if it's 100% a worthiness issue, but it's definitely, I realized when I was leaving Starbucks, I realized that it was me feeling insufficient. I have an insufficiency issue, which has led me to doing all these things to make me feel sufficient, not realizing that I am made in the image of Christ, and that alone is sufficient enough. Woo! Okay. Deliverance? All right. Well, we're already 12 minutes in. Let's move on. Okay, so still in the same spot, still editing. Just wanted to update y'all while I'm thinking about it. Jay dropped my food again. So this is very different. She typically don't do that. She typically does not get that down and dirty that quickly. However, we are on a little bit, I don't have as much wiggle room, so I get it, I understand it. So she just dropped food, cardio still the same. Food has been dropped, cardio's by 20 minutes, no supplementation. We just gonna ride this out. I know for a fact I'm gonna get a drop next week, so let's carry on, shall we? Cardio session is done. It wasn't hard. It was just me waiting until the last minute to do it. Again, going back to what I was talking about, time management in the episode before this, just got to do better. Got to do better. Okay, so now I need to go to salon. I really need to go to Costco, but I absolutely hate Costco with a passion. But I need laundry detergent, and I can't do my laundry. So here we go. So I just need to show y'all what Murillo was using to help me take my braids off. This is one of his little tool thing. I forgot. I find these all the time in the washing machine, in the bed, they be everywhere. But the fact that this man went and got this to help me take my braids out, he know to use a comb. Why are we being so raggedy? This is insanity. Okay, let's get back to work now. My hair has grown a ton. When I was taking it out, I didn't think so, and I'm aware I look crazy. One thing, main tip whenever you're taking your hair down from braids is to make sure that you detangle. Just finger tangle through your hair because your hair hasn't had a chance to shed. So you shed about 50 to 100 hair strands a day. So however many days you've had this in your head, the hair has not been able to shed, and that is what leads to matting, especially if you have fine hair. So I've already done so. Probably shower, wash my hair, and go to bed. Let's get into products used. So the Weedod Clarifying Shampoo. This is crucial. Hair has been in braids for weeks now. I want to cleanse my scalp, hair, all of it. Get everything off. Next up, following up with the Dew Sucker Free shampoo. This is a moisturizing shampoo. Whenever I'm doing like a really deep, thorough clarifying, I like to back it up with the moisturizing shampoo. Then we're going to go in with the Weedod protein treatment. I like this because it is lightweight, meaning it's not one that's invasive like the AphoG where it makes your hair hard, or it's not going to give you an overconsumption of protein, because too much protein for the hair, if you already have pretty strong hair, isn't good. And this is my absolute favorite conditioner. If you have coily hair like mine, this one by Pattern Beauty Heavy Conditioner, I hope and pray to be able to work with this company one day. I love their products.
This is what we're calling the God First Life. And today is not just a message, I believe it's a movement. It's a movement. I love the song where it says, He's giving us renewed mind, because sometimes we have to be renewed in the spirit of our mind to where we live a God First life. This is not a message, but it's a movement. It's not just a message, but it's a mantle where our priorities can say, we're going to be God First people after today. Now, what I've realized is that in the summertime, many people love Jesus, but they take a step back from God in the summer. And sometimes it happens subconsciously. Many of you all don't even know that you're doing it just because you get busy.
All right, we're all blown out. So this is a message for the girlies that maybe have hair like mine. As you can see, God did not design me and my hair to go down. My hair wants to be up with the Lord, okay? I also have the kind of hair that just simply doesn't care to be straight, which is why I don't blow it out. I don't force it to do something. I just roll with it. So, my hair has grown out a lot, which is fantastic. So I am going to put a scarf on it and we're going to get it braided. Yes, I'm going to get it braided again because I am in a phase of growing my hair out. This time though, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to do knotless braids this time. So let's go get ready to get the hair braided. All right, hair's done, you guys. Went with feed-ins this time. I haven't done this in probably since I don't know, 2019, but I wanted something different. I wanted something lighter. Like, it's hot out, so just having like all that hair on me while working out, and then most importantly sleeping, was not the vibe. So I was like, okay, I need to keep my hair braided for a bit, because like I said, if not, I'm never gonna get out of this awkward phase. I'm gonna go back to be a bald-headed baddie and keeping it pushing, and I needed to do something. So this is what I went with. But let me tell you something. First of all, my appointment, what, hour and a half? Not bad. The braids itself, they're fine. They don't hurt. But this girl's grip, when I tell you, she had the grip, the stronghold of Satan. I was like, yo, and she was pregnant. I was like, are you having a bad day? Are you in pain? What's going on? But I'm not tender-headed either. Here's the thing, you guys, and this is something that I feel we are doing much better in regards to the black hair culture. Tighter is not better. It should not hurt so bad to the point that you can't lay your head down at night. That is not good for your hair. That is not good for your scalp. That's also not good for your mental health, okay? So I can lay my head down. It's not going to be, you know, anything crucial for me. It was just a matter of her grip. Well, I was like, man, she gripped my thoughts from 5 years ago. I swear on everything I love, but we got it. So I'm gonna go home. I'm in a much better headspace. Y'all know I keep it 100. I did not wake up in the best headspace. You know how, like, when you try to have a conversation with your spouse and it just goes completely left? Yeah, that was yesterday. That was last night with me. And so I woke up kind of in a funk, not kind of in a funk. And so I just really spent this morning being quiet, being intentional, being in my word, and asking God to renew my heart. Because I think sometimes what we do as significant others, as wives, is we try to play God in our husbands' lives. And let me tell you something, as someone who has been doing that and has tried it multiple times, it does not work. And we need to look within ourselves. Like, anytime you want to see change, no matter what it is, it's like spouse, married, a friend, whatever the case may be, anytime you want to see change, look within yourself. But I also know that there are some things that I am wrestling with. When you, of course, are seeking God, y'all know I'm 100% seeking God, eyes on God, getting closer to God, spending time with Him, and He starts to renew you. He starts to fine tune you. And something that I didn't realize was the renewing is messy. And with the revelation of the renewing, like I talked about earlier yesterday, just like, you know, under wrestling with my own sin and seeing where I was wrong and just trying to correct it, and just praying and asking God to remove any thoughts or any fleshly ideas in me that are not of Him, that are not pleasing to Him. I want Him to remove that of me. So when you're going through that, when God is making you new, it's messy, it is uncomfortable, and it had me in a little bit of a frenzy. So I also had to take a step back when I realized after the fact, okay, you're trying to have this conversation with Lo, but then you also got something else going on you on the inside. And I was reading, and we're going to get into it. Sarah Jakes, she said, when going through a breakthrough, sometimes there's a breakdown. And I'll read it how she said it verbatim. But yeah, that's what's happening. I thought the top of my conviction in March was it. No, like, once that got corrected and I was seeking God, and He just starts chipping away and chipping away, but that's the process of making you new. So I'm just here to let you know that, hey, seeking God is not easy. You will stumble. You will fall. In fact, I think, and I've been saying it a lot, people think that, you know, when you are seeking God, when you're following God, that means automatically life's going to be easy. No, there will be temptation. Like for me, I'm being very mindful to not operate in my own flesh, in my own will, to make sure that whenever I do things, I'm not doing it because I am insufficient. And so I'm seeking these things to make me feel better, for a dopamine hit, for status, for finding, whatever the case may be. Because the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that stuff, but there's an issue with it when you put that above everything, when it becomes your idol. And like I said earlier, that is my biggest struggle right now. So I gotta go eat because I'm hungry. Sam, I don't even know if I'm going to put this in the vlog or not. And the reason being is because my feelings have been so up and down all over the place. I don't even know, but we gonna see. Okay, I have been wrestling with this one thought since the beginning of the year. And I felt one way, then I felt a different way. And it's just been this back and forth, this ping pong moment. And 2 days ago, I was like, no, this is what's happening. And then today, I'm kind of like, but is it? I have been wrestling with the thought of if I am getting on stage or not this year. At the beginning of the year, it was a solid no. At the beginning of the year, I was honestly ready just to hang the heels up and keep it pushing. Then I start thinking to myself, okay, can I truly do that and have no regrets? Because that would mean my last show was my last show. And that wasn't, you know what I mean? And so I was just kind of thinking, okay, do I have any regrets? So I was going back and forth with it. And then Murillo, praise God for him, said, why don't you just go ahead and prep? And he said, for some reason, if you don't want to do it, then you can stop. That's okay. And I was like, you know what, Pastor P? That's a word. And so today, and I think it's because I have really been working on being content. Contentment is something that I have struggled with, just not always striving for the most, doing for the most, always trying to achieve something. Like it's a problem, okay? It's something that the Lord is really having to work on me with. And something else that the Lord revealed to me was just understanding that for the direction that he wants me to go in, there are going to be some things that I need to let go of. Remember last year, again, when it came back, it all circles back to the put it down and create. And almost for a year now, I've been trying to like figure out, okay, what are the things you want me to put down, X, Y, and Z. And I've been going back and forth and back and forth. But with me, you know, learning to be content, because I'm getting comfortable, like, just with where I am right now. Like, I'm finally like comfortable with my current state of my body, my physique. It was an adjustment, and not because I dislike it. It just looks so different than what I'm used to. You know what I mean? It's like more muscle, more body fat. I just look different. So just adjusting to that, and then just being content with what it is that I'm doing. I love doing stage glam. And so now one of the things that I'm kind of coming against, and I talked to Alexis about it the other day, is just looking at the season. And ideally, I should already be competing right now. However, I'm not. And that's cool. That's okay. But what I'm running into now is, because I'm starting prep much later, it's running into shows that I'm supposed to be working in. So it's just kind of like, yo, this is a lot. And so I feel forced to make a decision because, you know, fleshly Amber is like, oh, it's cool. I can work these shows and compete. But then in reality, it's like, you know, that's difficult. You know, that's a task. You know, that's a battle. Is that smart? Is that wise? And then, of course, as we get closer to the end of the year, there are just less shows, you know? And I am just kind of like, okay, Amber, like, what are we doing here? What's going on? What's the tea? Is it wise for you to compete? Do you just push through and see what happens? Do you just say, you know what, fold, focus on work, focus on me, my personal development, my walk with Christ? Or do I give this thing one more go and be done? Because I don't know, like, if I don't compete this year, this season, I don't know that I'm gonna compete again. I don't, because in my mind, this season was going to be my last. Because here's the other thing, I also feel a lot of pressure and stress now just due to my age. I'm not old. However, I am at a place where I do want to have a child. I want to start my family, and it is very selfish to keep pushing things off just because of the name of bodybuilding. Like, that's not fair to my husband, and it's also becoming not fair to myself because that is a desire that I have. So I don't know. Again, I'm just sharing my thoughts with y'all. I'm not looking for anyone to give me a tangible answer because I don't know what the answer is, but I don't know. I'm just sharing because that's what God said. He said share things, I should go through them, and here we are. So that's what I'm wrestling with on this beautiful Sunday morning right now. And then who knows? Tomorrow I might wake up and be like, oh yes, prep, let's go. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know what's happening. But what I do know is I need to pray for some clarity. That's what I'm going to do. All right. Amen. Okay. First order of business. This NARS palette that I ordered came in the mail. So this is the NARS Laguna Ultimate Face Palette number 2. Y'all, this is lit for me for the summer. I love palettes like this because I don't have to bring an eyeshadow, a bronzer, like everything is in here. So I have this on my face and on my eyes, and first impression, she's pretty. Love, love, love. Don't worry, we'll do a full video on it. What am I doing today? So it's a pretty chill day. Today is Thursday, May 30th. I'm not packed at the salon. I go a little bit later this afternoon, but let's get into Sarah Jakes Roberts Power Moves chapter number 1. I'm trying to set my outdoor oasis vibe. So this is something that I want. I was telling Marilla because y'all, when I tell you that man is obsessed with the lawn right now, I think he might be obsessed with the backyard's lawn and landscaping more so than he is with me. Anywho, he's doing a good job trying to grow the grass back in certain areas, but we love trees. We love the trees, right? However, because it's so shady, it just won't grow. Anywho, there's an area in the backyard where I'm like, yo, that is my dream spot. That is like my outdoor oasis. So trying to see if we can make that happen. However, if not, I think I'm just going to do it here. It's like in the front of my yard, but it's the side. Obviously, y'all can't see my house because you don't need to see my house. But I think I might make it happen up here because, I don't know, I think this is a better vibe. Anywho, my neighbor down the street decided to turn on their blower, so hopefully it's not too loud. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through chapter 1. If you are reading it, please let me know down below and we can discuss what you think in the comments. I'm trying to think of something. I don't know, maybe I'll do, if y'all want, maybe we can do like a YouTube live discussion. Y'all tell me what you want. But basically, I'm not going to read through the whole chapter 1. I'm just going to point out the areas that I have highlighted and we'll talk about it, okay? So, first of all, the book Power Moves. I love the title, right? Because you can take it in 2 different ways. Power moves, like, okay, we about to make power moves, or power moves, like power moving through. And that's how she intended it to be, more so of power moving and flowing through you, not necessarily power moves, 10 things you can do to be powerful. Like, that's not what it is at all. So I love the spin on the title. So off the rip in the introduction, something that I have highlighted. Where's my highlighter here? Okay. Out of desperation, we cling to external markers of power, status, whether it be relational, financial, professional, or notoriety, as fillers for the place where our soul is now empty. The only thing worse than being powerless is falling for the illusion that power can be assumed by what you have instead of who you are willing to become. Right there. For me, I've been talking about wrestling with my sin and idolatry. That was me 100%. That is something that I am working through. I talked about it earlier in the vlog. Just chasing status or whatever the case may be to fill myself up, chasing work. Like I said, this is just the introduction right off the rip. So of course that hit home for me. And I also understand that the root of that, again, is just, feeling powerless, feeling out of control, wanting to be able to control my life, to stay out of harm's way, just, operating and living in that survival mode. Yes, felt that hard. If you have ever found yourself withdrawing and isolating because you're confused, doubtful, or nervous, it's not because you are weak. It's evidence that your power is under attack. Yes, yes, and yes. So growing up for me, my coping mechanism would just be quiet. Don't say anything. hide because I felt safer being quiet. I felt like, first of all, nobody was listening anyway, but that was definitely part of it. Just feeling like, well, no one can help me. Like, it doesn't matter. No one can hear me, i.e., I have no power in this situation. Until you learn to make space for your truth, you cannot tap into the fullness of God's goodness concerning your life, nor can you reasonably expect anyone else to do the same. So, this is something that I've been doing probably the past 48 hours. It's just getting real honest with myself and being honest with God in regards to some work things, something that I thought I no longer wanted, or something that I thought God just wasn't going to grant it to me. And now that want and desire is starting to come back up again. But now I understand that God probably wouldn't grant that thing to me because he knew that in that headspace and how I was operating and how I was putting work and everything else above him in my life, he couldn't honor it. He didn't support it. So I stress a lot having a gut check with yourself, being honest, because if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anyone else. But also, if you can't be honest with yourself, you're probably not being honest with God either. But the thing is, I don't know why we're not honest with God, because he knows. Like, he literally knows everything that we are thinking before we even think it. So, step one, be honest with God, be honest with yourself. And that'll help. It has helped me tremendously as I go through this season that I'm in. All right, now getting into chapter 1. Let's see. Okay, this was good. Your loyalty to the way you assume things should be is keeping you from showing up powerfully in the way things are. Baby, let me tell you, the flesh is weak. We tend to operate in our own will, in our own flesh. And when you think about it, that is hilarious, because why do we think that we have that type of power? God is in control, right? So when we have an ideology of how something should go, and then when it doesn't go that way, I know for me personally, if I have it in my mind, this is how this needs to go, this is how this needs to happen, this is the plan. And we all know when you get real rigid and you start planning everything out to the T, God always going to throw something in there to show you, to remind you that, hey, baby, you're not in control. That's a cute guide. So that's why now I don't even say, okay, here's my plan. If I say here's a plan, I know to be flexible because God gonna do what he do. But I really like saying, okay, this is the guide, right? This is the idea. This is what I'm thinking. This is, maybe a script, if you will. However, I understand that I need to be flexible because God's will, not mine. He knows, not me. He's in control. I am not to lean on my own understanding when things change, and that's the issue. And then also when things change and something's not going exactly how you planned, take that opportunity to flex your faith muscle. We're in the gym, we're working out, we're doing all the things, right? In order to build the muscle, you got to work out. Let those opportunities train your mindset to build your faith in God, because at the end of the day, he knows, and he always knows something that you might not be able to see in that very moment. But then as you go through it and you come out of it, you're like, oh, clock it. I see, Lord. I get it. Thank you so much. And okay, I'm going to have to go inside. Oh, I'm annoyed. All right. So if you get so hung up in operating in your mind the way something should be, you can't truly show up 100% to what things are currently right now in this moment in the natural. And that is definitely something that I have struggled with, where you just get so zoned in and focused on, well, it needs to be this way, it needs to be this way, to the point that you can't even see that, hey, that's not realistic. That's not an option. You need to shift your mind, you need to shift your perspective to exactly what it is that's going on right now in this moment, so that way you can show up appropriately. It's like if you just keep getting stuck in the past, right? If you keep getting stuck in the past or harping on the past or what went wrong, how in the world are you ever supposed to progress and move forward? You gotta keep going. You gotta focus on the now and keep moving forward. The only thing more frightening than being powerless is the fear of how being powerful may disturb your environment. Now we're about to get real deep. One of my struggles, and please know y'all, this is an open conversation. I'm sharing this. Maybe it'll help somebody else out as well, but one of my struggles has been my own self. I don't fear much. First and foremost, I fear God. But something that I do fear is myself and my abilities. And this is something that I have been dealing with for years now. I mean, I can honestly say easily for at least the past 8 years, I am high key afraid of myself. I don't know why I'm afraid of myself. Okay, I won't say I don't know. I will say, and this isn't me being, self-righteous, no, that's not what it is. It's one of those situations of I've known for a long time that God has put something in me, and that thing is so big, that thing is so scary. It ain't my idea because I'm not that intelligent. Like, it's a God thing, but it has scared me, and I always knew there was something there. I just didn't know what it was. And now as I'm really, really honing in on it and paying attention to him and asking for wisdom and for the Holy Spirit to guide me, I'm kind of like, okay. One thing about it is it's different when you have an idea, because here's the thing, God still wants to give you what your heart desires, right? The thing is, you need to be working in collaboration with God. That's something else I'm also coming to terms with. But when God puts something in you, he puts something on you, it can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me because I don't want to screw it up. So that leads me to second guess. That leads me to sit on it. That leads me to, I mean, honestly, this is in regards to one more knit. So when it's an Amber idea, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, let's go, let's move forward, let's get it done. But then when God puts it on you, it's like, wait, you want me to do what now? So I know that it will be a disruption of my environment. I know that I'm in a season right now and things are going to be changing. I also know that if God put it on me, then we need to be obedient and we need to follow through. And we don't operate in fear. Do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Cast all your fears onto him. Next page. This snatched my edges. There is no breakthrough without a breakdown. Baby. Okay, so with this right here, and I'm going to do a whole nother video on this because, again, this is the season that I'm in. The process of God renewing your heart feels low-key ghetto, and here's why. First of all, I think the reason why a lot of people have a hard time coming to God and just, living a godly life is because they feel like when you choose God, you have to come perfect. And we all know that's not how it goes, right? However, with me being 100% all in, I'm like, okay, well, since I'm renewed, I'm different, I'm fresh, I need to do X, Y, and Z. No, again, that is your own flesh showing. You don't even have the power to renew yourself. You are not capable of doing that. It's not possible. That's his job, not yours. All you got to do is say, God, I'm here, I'm available, you are Lord. Do what you do. I'm your vessel. Use me. That's all you got to do. But here's the thing. When you do that and you pray that, the renewing of the heart, the dying of your old flesh, yeah. The prayer that I had been praying, God, please remove anything or anyone that doesn't need to be in my life. Remove anything that you do not want in my life. Remove anything that doesn't make you happy. Like, when you have to be very careful when you pray that, because when you pray that and you mean that, he's going to start changing and turning things over. And you don't have to work to make the changes yourself, because you'll just notice it with subtle changes. Subtle changes. One change for me. I've always been more so of a modest girl, but now I am hyper aware of my clothing and how things look on me, especially now because of this body situation we got going on. I am more cognizant of the content I am taking in. I've always been mindful, but regardless if it's music, if it's podcasts, if it's something on Instagram, I am so hyper aware and mindful of it. It is insane. Discerning people, certain things. Like, I was doing one of my friend's hair and she had said something, and typically I wouldn't say anything, but as soon as she said it, I felt convicted, and I knew, okay, I need to go say something, because old me would have just laughed it off like I used to, but this time, So God will start changing you, but the reason why it's a breakdown is because, first of all, I had to get broken down. I had to surrender. I was like, God, I can't do this in my own will. I don't want to do this on my own. I need you. There's that. But then, once you get past that, it is the fighting with your old flesh and the new person that you're becoming. Hard stuff. Hard stuff. This was interesting to me. The loss of power shows up in different ways for everyone. Here are a few signs that can indicate you're experiencing a loss of power. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She listed 8, and there are 2 that apply to me. So I want to talk about those 2. One of them, you feel a constant longing and discontentment. I have been feeling that since summer of 2022. I have been chasing, trying things, trying to figure it out. There was no contentment, and I just knew that there was something else I was supposed to be doing, but I couldn't figure out what it was, and it was driving me crazy. You feel trapped inside your life regardless of how many things should be a source of joy. Getting my pro card, amazing. I'm like, oh, cool, this is great. That was not enough to fulfill me. That was not enough to carry me over. That was not enough to keep me happy. In fact, after I got the pro card, I was good. And then that's when things started just really falling apart for me. So understanding that accomplishments and all these things aren't going to make you feel powerful. For many of us, feeling powerless is something that happens over time. No one is born powerless. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. From the moment you were an embryo in your mother's womb, you began disturbing things. Smells began to make her ill. Her clothing had to give way to make room for your growth. She tossed and turned for comfort because you unapologetically took up space. I love this. That was such a brilliant analogy, because baby's gonna come into the mama's belly and they're gonna grow. They don't care how mom is feeling. They don't care that maybe mom has to speak. If the baby wants to kick, the baby's gonna pick. Like, babies do not care. And this is babies from the time they are in the womb, and then once they come, and then once you have a newborn, that's a whole different situation. But babies are going to disturb and take up space and not feel bad about it. And I feel like a lot of us need to be comfortable with that, especially when you talk about, just godly living and being a woman of God. It's like, nah, man, like I'm here. I'm going to share what I know. If it ruffles your feathers, I'm sorry. It's coming out of love. We need a look. Conviction is healthy because when you feel convicted, that means God loves you. And these are things that can be corrected in your life so that way you can live appropriately and according to God's word. Or taking up space in your work environment, especially if you are someone who does have maybe a corporate job and maybe you're the only one, whatever the case may be. You know things, sis. You are intelligent. You are powerful. Don't feel less than. Don't feel like you have to make yourself small. No, shine bright. Shine bright. Or if you feel like, oh, well, I didn't come from much. I didn't have this. So I probably won't be able to obtain X, Y, and Z, or maybe I don't deserve X, Y, and Z. No, you know a lot. You have God on your side. Do the thing that God told you to do. Show up in the space that God is telling you to show up in, because he would have never told you those things if it already wasn't certified with a stamp on it. This is an opportunity to acknowledge and accept that the loss of power can be a gift. It makes space for you to reconnect to your all-powerful God who refills, restores, and refuels you in the place where you experience loss. This is so true because, again, a lot of us, regardless if you intend to or not, are operating in your own will. And sometimes you got to get broken down for you to realize, oh, Lord, you are sovereign. You are king. I can't do nothing here on this earth without you. Nothing here for me is possible without you. So I'm broken down. I am hurt. I feel lost. I feel discouraged. However, the only way for me to come out of this is to surrender to you so that way you can heal, that way you can restore, that way you can make beauty for ashes. You feel me? You feel me? It's like God will do things to tap you on your shoulder to get your attention. It's kind of like struggling to hear God. Is it hard to hear God? Or are you not listening? Is it hard to hear God? Or is your life too loud? Is it hard to hear God? Or are you doing so many things? Are you so disconnected from him that you can't hear him? And what happens is, especially if he has been tapping you on your shoulder for quite some time, guess what? Things will begin to disintegrate, because if God wants your attention, he's going to do whatever it takes to get your attention. And unfortunately for me, had to break me down, had to strip me of everything. That's not fun. That's not fun. So spend time with God. Have your downtime. Block the noise. Take a step back. Be intentional with your prayer. Be intentional with your devotional. Be intentional with reading the Bible, because those things are going to get you closer to him, and you'll be able to hear him and operate and maneuver in your life better. Let's see. They became more focused on themselves than God. Whenever we become more focused than God conscious, pressure is applied to our flow of power. This. I pray to remove the self-righteous flesh from me. I pray to remove that status chasing from me, because that is not God conscious. That is all me wanting to do things to make me feel good, to make me feel better, because I got a chip on my shoulder because I'm not healed on the inside. When you are operating like that, that's quite, it's a little bit of an evil spirit in you, okay? And you feel so much more pressure because you feel like everything is riding on you. It's riding on you, right? Everything was never intended to ride on you, because everything that you do, God is supposed to be in the center of it. So when God is in the center and when you are God conscious, it's him. He's going to direct it. He's in control. So therefore, It relieves the pressure off of you and it takes away the stress. It takes away the overwhelm. When I tell you this is the most peace I have ever been, just the whole rebranding and the renewing of Amberp, because I took that pressure off of myself and put my eyes on God so he could make me new, so I could truly see, oh, this thing here, it ain't gonna function properly without you. So until I put my own self-righteous ways to the side and be a child of God, be a child of God and be God conscious, it's gonna continue to be raggedy. Raggedy. Where we at? Okay. What occurred in Genesis 3 was a departure from God's intention for us to reflect the strength of his spirit on earth. God envisioned a human experience that didn't require inner work before outer impact. So obviously this is when they, took the fruit from the serpent. When Adam and Eve, referring to that, when he created humanity, we were released to be a force instantaneously. He used big words like subdue and dominion. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on earth. Genesis 1:28. Why would God use powerful words unless he knew in his plan that they could access the power necessary to fulfill that charge? Let that sink in for a moment. When God gave them the command, it didn't require them to work through their nerves, doubts, abandonment issues, or perfectionism. Those are things we confront now before we can even consider God's perfect plan for our imperfect lives. You know why he did not need to untangle their thoughts from his thoughts? Because they were meant to be so perfectly made in God's image that their thoughts were his thoughts. Their ways were his ways. The DNA of their insides bore the fingertips of God's power. So basically saying, when God gave us Adam and Eve, so hold on, let me back up. We are made in God's image, right? So when he made Adam and Eve, he won't thinking about all these other crazy nonsense things. He's like, I'm making them. They're in my image. They're going to be fruitful. They're going to multiply. They're going to have dominion. They're going to subdue. This is the track record that he had already set up for the humans. However, the flesh is weak. The enemy, Adam and Eve, disobeyed God, and then boom, that turned everything around. However, what she's saying is, if he intended for us to subdue and have dominion, that right there is saying that because he made us and he is sovereign, because he made us in his image, that alone already makes us powerful human beings. We are supposed to be moving and operating and functioning in power through God's power. And then this is it for chapter 1. Maybe you're tired right now. You believe that the only way you can truly show up for others in a way that represents God is by saying yes to everything, even when you don't have what it takes. Have you been there before? I'm sure everyone at some point has been there before, where you're just saying yes and you don't have the capacity. I understand that we are in a self-servient climate right now. Self-care, take care of me. Self-care is getting somewhere and sitting down. Self-care is getting somewhere and reading. Self-care is just being peaceful. Self-care is minding your business, living and being. That's self-care. Self-care has been taken to this overly self-indulgent, kind of narcissistic stance right now. Not for everybody. I'm not generalizing for everybody, but that's something that I have been noticing because I was listening to someone. Who was it? I think it might have been Jackie Hill Perry that was talking about it. And when she said it, I was like, yeah, I could totally see that. Completely see that. If you are tired, please stop saying yes to everything. You cannot pour from an empty cup. you are a mom and you're trying to be a super mom and you're doing all the things. You can't be a good mom if you were not well rested, if you're not taking care of yourself. You can't be a good business owner if you're constantly working from sun up to sundown. It all flows together. Stop saying yes just to appease people, just to make them feel good, or maybe in the moment just to make you feel good. So like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this stuff for everyone else, but at the expense of your mental and emotional health. Stop it. Let me just remind you of a few times when you prayed that God would do something, but he didn't do it. Telling someone no doesn't mean that you don't love them. It simply means that your no has taken into consideration things that they can't even see or perhaps understand. Your no doesn't mean that you don't love the person. Your no doesn't mean that you don't want to show up for the person. The no means that, hey, because I have so much going on right now, I can't show up 100% for you because I ain't been showing up 100% for me. So therefore, me showing up is not going to be good. So let that be your sign. No is universal. No is not going to hurt feelings. People aren't going to love you less. If someone is upset with you because you said no to something, then that right there will tell you all that you need to know, especially when the no is coming from the I literally cannot right now. I don't have the strength. I don't have the energy. I don't have the capacity. If someone cannot understand that, then that alone will tell you everything that you need to know about that person and the relationship with that person. All right. So that's going to wrap up the vloggy vlog. I will see y'all in the next vlog cast. One more night.